And on to Aura Minerals. TSX and Brazilian-listed Aura Minerals, Inc. is a multinational mining company that fully owns and operates gold and copper mines in Honduras, Brazil and Mexico, with projects at various stages of development in Brazil and Colombia. So that's main mines and other projects. The company is headquartered in the British Virgin Islands and operates from its corporate office in Florida. Yesterday, the company announced that Almas, its open-pit gold mine in Brazil, has just started production, with 2023 production at Almas expected to be between 25 and 30,000 ounces of gold, ramping up to 55,000 ounces, I understand from Kleber. Now, Kleber Cardoso is the CFO at Aura Minerals, and he joins us live this evening. Welcome, Kleber. It's really good to speak to you again. How have things been since you spoke to us in March 2022? I don't know if you can remember that. I can. It was a very good night.
I can remember as well. Yeah, no, thanks for having me here. Good evening for most of you. Things have been very dynamic. Aura is a growing dynamic company. So I think there will be a lot to share, like in terms of updates from our recent past.
Perfect. Do you want to go through your presentation now?
Yeah, sure. So for those who, again, good evening. I'm Kleber Cardoso, CFO of Aura Minerals. Have been with the company now for over 4 years. For those who haven't heard of Aura Minerals, we are a growing gold and copper producer, focused with our operations in the Americas. A quick snapshot of our main accomplishments in the last few years. Aura has been ranked the number one on the TSX 30 ranking in the last 2 years. TSX 30 is the award that TSX gives to the best stock performance in Canada across all markets. Aura was the first and only so far to win this award in 2 years in a row. As I said, we are a growing company. We grew our production in gold equivalent ounces by over 90% since 2018. And with 3 operating mines in the Americas, 1 project in ramp-up phase and 2 projects to build, we expect to grow another 86% in the next 2-3 years and exceed 450,000 ounces of production by 2025. Besides being a growth case, we can say we also a dividend case. We have been paying a significant amount of dividends. In 2021, we paid 13.5% in dividend yields. It was the highest dividend in our sector in the world. And last year, we returned to our shareholders another 6%, including dividends and share buybacks. Just a quick overview where we are, where our operations so focus on Latin America, 3 operating mines. The 3 in red here in this map. In Mexico, we have the Aranzazu underground mine. Is the only operating mine that so far we produce copper. Is about 70% of our production in Mexico is copper, and the rest is gold. And then we have other 2 gold mining open pits in operations, San Andres in Honduras and EPP in Brazil. Those 3 operating mines produced 242,000 ounces of gold equivalent in 2022. And as we can see, we have several other assets in different stages of development, which are going to take the company to continue in this growth path. In Brazil, we have the Almas project. Almas project is a gold project open pit with 17 years life of mine, which yesterday we just announced the start of production. So we are ramping up Almas. We expect shortly to announce that we're going to start building another project, Borborema gold project in the northeast of Brazil. And next would come Matupá, also highlighted in green. So between orange and green, we have our growth projects to 2025, which are going to take us to another round, another wave of increasing production in the next few years. Very quickly, a quick overview of our history. Not gonna go over all the points here, but basically, Aura was first listed on TSX in 2007. Then in 2010 achieved the peak. Its market cap close to 1 billion Canadian dollar. And in 2016, because the company was underperforming, the market cap dropped by 98% to $20 million. And the control of the company was at the time acquired by a Brazilian investor. A Brazilian investor, a very traditional investor in mining. They were one of the founders, for example, of Yamana Golds in the early 2000s. Was a big success story. And they saw in Aura an opportunity to first build a turnaround case, and then second, a growth story. With then 16, 17, a new controlling group, a new management stepped in, and we started several transformations, which internally we summarize in 3 pillars. One is to have high quality assets and projects. And the high quality assets and projects, for many, it seems, when you read it seems obvious, but for us, it doesn't mean large projects, but means projects that are highly profitable with short paybacks, even if they are smaller. Throughout the last 5-6 years, we divested, for example, from some projects that were very large, interesting, but very large, and acquired these small projects with very high interest rates of return or short payback periods, and maximizing the net present value. So we focus a lot on the financial side of the projects instead of the size of the projects. The second is having a strong balance sheet. Although we're growing and paying dividends, we have a healthy balance sheet. We have over $120 million in cash and equivalents. Our net debt over EBITDA is 0.5 times only. And we have the financial targets to never to exceed 1 time net debt over EBITDA in order not to put our growth story at risk. And the third pillar, and the one that we consider the most important one, is building a strong team and a stronger culture to support all this transformation. We have been implementing many, for example, HR tools that are very common in other sectors, like in banking, in tech, but not very common apparently in mining, such as a more aggressive compensation, not only for top management, but for middle management as well. 360-degree feedback, 9-box matrix, and others. And with this, we have been able to attract very good talent from companies like Vale, Yamana, Kinross, Anglo Golds. In the end, it's all about people. One thing that I'd like to highlight in terms of the cultural transformation is what we summarize here on this page, what we call Aura 360. We call this our mandala, which summarizes the values of the companies and what we see as our commitments for our main stakeholders. This was put together first in 2017 when a new management team stepped in. Then as a whole group, over 300 people, employees, we reviewed last year and improved. And basically, literally, this slide we have in all our internal and external presentations, because it invites us to ask ourselves before any important decision is made, what's going to be the impact of that decision on our employees, for example, and not only talk about safety, that's non-negotiable, but also in terms of motivation, attraction, retention. The same with community and environment. We don't want to just preserve the environment we're part of, but we want to see the communities grow as well. And finally, of course, to the commitment with the company, our shareholders, of course, we need to deliver shareholder value as well. This framework is pretty much part of our culture. Even here in my shirt, to see 360 Mining, and has been a big source of competitive advantage we see to attract people, retain people, and achieve our financial targets responsibly. In terms then the results after all these transformations, we saw that our production, as I mentioned before, increased by over 90% since 2018. On the bottom left side of the page, I like to highlight our cash costs. You see our cash costs remain between 830, below 900 for most of the periods. This has been a very big achievement by our team, especially in this environmental inflationary environment that we're seeing the last few years. According to several different research that we acquire, we see that Aura was able to move it from a third quartile in the cash cost curve to a solid second quartile in 2022 by fighting inflation. And then in terms of adjusted EBITDA, on the bottom, the right side, we see we're coming from roughly $20 million in EBITDA in 2018 and the years before to over 120 in the last 3 years. And with the increasing EBITDA, the company was able to generate cash and then able to reinvest in the growth of the company. So going forward, after this summary of what we did in the past, and now looking a little bit to the future, where we see that we can unlock value to our shareholders. First one is definitely through the growth by building efficiently, putting in production the projects, the greenfield projects we have in our pipeline. Especially in these last 2 years, there has been many concerns from some investors on greenfield projects because of high inflation and many capex overruns that have been happening elsewhere. So we understand that building on time and on budget these projects and putting them in production as expected is going to add value, not only because the company is going to be growing, but also we're going to build the confidence from the investment community that we know what we're doing. The second one is the growth in our mineral reserves and mineral resources, because the company had a legacy of not generating cash and therefore not having the financial resources to invest in exploration. We saw in the past over the years the life of the mines, of some of the mines, they decreased. What we started doing in the last few years was increasing investments to increase the reserves and resources. We're seeing a significant increase, but the markets and many investors probably they would be even more confident when they see more reserves and resources coming, and it's coming. And the third one is increasing repricing our multiples. We are still undervalued. I'm going to show that our PNAV is very low compared to our peers. Although we have been number one in stock performance in Canada in 21-22, that was mainly the result of the turnaround. And many people still don't know Aura a lot. As we tell our story and keep showing results, we also see an opportunity for our multiples to go to according to our peers. Very quickly, our 3 projects that are going to take us to 450,000 ounces by 2025. Almas is the one that was mentioned at the beginning, that was delivered, and we announced the start of production yesterday. Almas, we delivered only 16 months. We delivered on budgets and on time. The capex for this project was only $78 million, so it's a small capex for this type of projects. And that probably Almas is the best example of what I was mentioning in our 3 pillars, the type of projects we like. Almas is expected to produce 50,000 ounces of gold per year only. It seems for many, it seems small, but it has an internal rate of return considering 50% leverage of over 100%. The payback after goes into operation is about 2 years, so very short payback. So the economics is I haven't seen recently one project with some such interesting returns such as Almas. Next, Borborema. Borborema, we acquired 80% of Borborema last year. It's from an Australian company. There is a technical report which was released at the time in Australia. We are reviewing and building and doing a 43-101, which the summary of results we expect to announce to the market by June. In the second quarter, I would say it's going to be very busy in terms of news flows coming from Borborema. We expect not only to announce the new feasibility study, but also, if all goes well, announce to the market that we intend to start building the project, a detailed timeline, how we're going to fund it, and next steps. And finally, we have Matupá. Matupá, it's also in Brazil. It's in terms of size, similar to Almas. Matupá, we put a feasibility study in November last year, which indicated a mine that it could produce 55,000 ounces per year for 7 years. It seems small, the reserves, but again, it's very, very profitable, very low strip ratio, payback below 2 years, considering feasibility study prices, which were around 1,600s. And in Matupá, because it's the last in our portfolio, is the project we invested the least to know the geology. Now we're investing more and more in Matupá, and we're seeing there is a potential to maybe become a larger mine in the future, because we're not going to announce that we're going to start construction in Matupá in less than 1 year from now. Our strategy is, okay, let's continuing in 23 and 24, understanding the geology of Matupá, and maybe 1 year from now, we're going to be able to announce something even better than we have here. Almas, already mentioned, almost 17 years life of mine, over 100% internal rate of return. NPV over CapEx is one metric we like because it shows also the return for every CapEx that we invested. It's 3.6 times. You don't see many projects with these interesting returns. This month we started production, and we expect by July to reach commercial production already in Almas. In terms of exploration, I was mentioning that we see that we can create value by increasing the reserves and resources. We come from investing around $8 million in exploration in 2018 to over $20 million in 21-22, and we expect to invest another $25 million in 23 across all our properties. We have around 650,000 hectares of permits to exploring our properties, which we know geologically speaking, roughly 10%. So as we are catching up and investing, we're already seeing the results. You'll see that on the right side of the page, our reserves increased 6%. Here comparing apples to apples, the same, not including Borborema, the same assets increased 6% despite the growth of our production. Our measure indicator resources almost tripled in the same periods, and our inferred resources remained almost stable, some small reduction. That's mainly a combination of two good news. One, we are finding inferred resources, but we're converting inferred resources to measuring indicated. Last year, for example, we converted over 100% of our inferred resources into measuring indicated. So it just shows that we are not yet where we would like to be in terms of reserves and resource, but it's working. Our strategy of focusing using part of the cash flows to reinvest in geology to increase the mineral resources. It's working, and we expect this to continue, this trend to continue. And finally, the third leverage to create value, the valuation. This was an analysis which was released recently by Raymond James. We are in this, always in this category, is considered intermediate producer. So this analysis brings two takeaways. First, there is a possibility, there is an opportunity to close this gap. We are discounted more than 20% compared to our peers, and we believe as we keep delivering projects, we increase awareness of our company, we expect to close this gap. And the second, as the company grow, we expect to move to the left side here of the page and see increasing our multiples as well. So just as a summary, in the past, high quality assets, three good assets which are producing cash flows, good projects with short paybacks. We have a stronger balance sheet, building our foundation in our team, our culture. Our performance, I like to highlight, is although we have an interesting growth ahead of us, we're delivering results. So we're, let's say, in the middle of the cycle, have been paying dividends, over $115 million returning in dividends and paybacks to our shareholders. And ahead, we have a huge unmatched exploration pipeline. We can grow even beyond 2025 because we have other assets that are still not in our business plan. We have showing execution and the opportunity to re-rate, considering our gap compared to our peers. And finally, it's our share ownership, over 50% Northwestern, our controlling shareholder. In analyst coverage, we are covered by several analysts in Brazil and in Canada, most of them with by recommendation.
You're done. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, in terms of presentation, yes.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much. Crikey, what an interesting company Aura Minerals are.
Yeah, no, a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
That's a very understated way of putting it. Let me start by asking you about your latest open pit gold mine at Almas in Brazil. You nodded to it in your presentation, and talk us through how this reflects your Aura 360 strategy going forwards, which you, as you say, I mean, we're probably quite cynical about this, but you say it's a fundamental part of your business strategy.
Yeah. So, for example, in terms translating that in terms of results, I think I can bring it to practical results into the 360. We work in a very decentralized way. That's part of our 360 culture. We're people positive. To give you an idea, we have now 4 mines producing many assets. We have in our corporate office only 30 people. We decentralize a lot the business units and keep it here at corporate. Basically, strategy, capital allocation, controls, knowing internal, external auditors, compliance, etc. The business units and the projects, they have autonomy to take decisions, business decisions. They are measured by the financial results, not how many tons they have crushed at the plant, but how much cash flow they generated, for example. That's even one of the targets for the managers. And if you take what happened in the last few years, for example, our Almas, the construction team, they had these targets. Okay, we need to build the project on time, on budget, and with the 360 values. But other than that, they could come to us and propose change if they saw fit.
And you think that 16 months to construct with a capex of $78 million was a good result?
Yes, because it was because much of the decision of okay, how can we save in order to keep our capex under control is made by someone that is on the site, that knows and is day to day talking to suppliers and knows the trade-offs. Okay, maybe I'm not gonna engage this contractor, multinational company, but there is like this Brazilian company that is very reputable. That I'm as project manager in Brazil, I trust that company, and then that can bring a significant financial savings. That has helped to definitely, that has contributed to keep the project on budgets, because there was like over 20% inflation for our segment in the last 2 years.
And did you say it was 2 years to break even on Almas?
After starting construction, the expectation was the feasibility study indicated 2 years to pay back. The feasibility study used as reference gold prices of 1550. So with gold prices now close to 2000, we expect to be even less than 2 years.
And the life of mine in Almas at the moment is 17 years. What's the possibilities of growing that resource going forward?
Yeah, so Almas is in a green belt area in Brazil. It's still under invested in terms of geology, because we have 17 years life of mine, and we have other projects and assets to invest in geology. So far, we haven't invested more. But our idea is, in our mindset with Almas and other project, is let's put Almas in production. Let's get the payback of 2 years. And then after we get the payback, let's reinvest. And reinvest can be increased production. We don't need to keep producing 50,000 ounces for 17 years. We can at some time increase production. And let's reinvest in exploration so that we can increase both the life of the mine and the production capacity. But what we try to do is to have those investments with the cash that's going to generate by the project, instead of upfront putting a lot of cash.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So locally, the decentralized approach of your Aura 360 is to generate cash at Almas and then put that cash at some point back into developing the resource to build the life of mine and also make it more profitable.
Exactly, to grow.
Okay, no, it sounds like an excellent strategy. Now, you're very focused on increasing your total mineral resources. So tell us what this next year looks like. Last year was 124,000 meters drilled, which is a substantial amount. Mm-hmm. What does this year's work program look like, and what are the successes so far, and what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, it's similar. So last year we invested over $22 million in our properties. We added over 100,000 ounces in measured and indicated resource, which is a lot considering a production of 240,000. So it's not including inferred. If include inferred, another 500,000. So it just shows our properties there is so much potential. What we expected this year is to keep investing to convert new reserves, especially in MPP, that is an operating mine in Brazil, and to increase the total resources both in Matupá, which is the project I was mentioning that we are going to start building next year. And in some more early stage projects, just as one project that we acquired last year, it's called Serra da Estrela. It's a copper project in the Carajás region in Brazil. That is not yet in our business plan because it's early stage, but Carajás region in Brazil is a very prolific mining district. So we are investing in Carajás this year, and hopefully having like bringing further resources and then continuing the same path with these other assets for next year, so that we can go above 2025. Now, 25 we want to achieve that for 150,000 ounces, and then we want to build now a story for 26, 27, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so 240,000 ounces of production divided between gold and copper. You're a very good man to ask about the demand outlook for both gold and copper. How do you see it?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. No, people ask a lot where our gold and copper prices are heading to.
Why is that difficult, though? Why is it difficult, given that that's your day job and that's what you do?
Yeah, no, because we don't know. No, we don't know where the price is going.
You don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah, but what we know are the fundamentals. So, and the fundamentals are very different. So, in terms of gold, it's it has the impact of especially interest rates, U.S. interest rates. So we saw last year that the Federal Reserve was increasing interest rates, and gold was suffering for part of the year. Now what we're seeing is the opposite. People expect interest rates to remain at the current levels or not to increase significantly, while the inflation is still around. So there is a migration to invest in gold as a way to a story of value. No, so it's a lot of expectation about what's going to happen with inflation when U.S. interest rates. In terms of copper, is totally demand and supply. So at some point last year, there were some expectations also from the market that because of increasing interest rates, we would see the GDP, world GDP growing less, and then the demand from copper decreasing. It hasn't happened, and now with all the investments in the green economy and the demand that we're going to see for copper from EVs, we're seeing copper already picking up. More in the medium and long term, we're very bullish for copper. We see that there will be not enough supply to meet the demand. So we're very positive going forward for copper.
Okay, that was lovely. There you go. It wasn't such a hard answer after all. I thought that was really illuminating.
Yeah, no, I can't explain the fundamentals, no. But where the price is
let me ask a really hard question. Let me ask a really difficult one. In terms of consolidation, well-run gold and copper miners such as yourselves are highly sought after, and super miners are forever consolidating. You know what the super miners are like. They're always finding someone new to buy. Would Aura be happy to exit for the right price, do you think?
Well, I don't know, because I'm part of management, no, and we have a controlling shareholder. I think with the right price, everything can be sold, but there is a lot of potential we're in the middle of the growth story, so I think that would have to be taken in consideration, that all the upside potential that Aura has.
So everything has the right price, but nevertheless, as part of the management team, you'd really rather get on with the day job and grow everything.
Yeah. Our job is to create shareholder value and stakeholder value in general.
And that's what you're doing. Fantastic answer. Very good. You've been to the right school. What can we expect by way of news flow from Aura Minerals in the next few months? This is your last question, Kleber. Final answer.
Yeah. So from now to June, we expect some news from Borborema. Both the results of the new feasibility study, and also if all goes well, we're going to announce a timeline and the intention to build the project. I think that's going to be a big milestone in the next 2-3 months. And also Almas reaching commercial production by July. I think those are the next big announcements.
It's Borborema is the next Almas.
Correct. Yes.
Brilliant.
And the good thing is, Borborema, it's similar in terms, it's in the same jurisdiction, open pit, CIL, similar technology that Almas used. So we're bringing the team that was able to build so well Almas to. So there is a lot of learning from our team. So it's going to be the same team that is going to build a similar project.
Terrific answer. Okay, that's a really good, strong finish. Kleber, thank you so much for joining us. That's Kleber Cardoso. He's the CFO at Aura Minerals. That was really interesting.